Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Cash Flow Positive. I am here with Margot, the CEO and co founder of Hostfully, which is a property management software. I am super excited to talk with you guys in our part two episode here about the biggest mistake when you scale. So, Margot, without further ado, I'm going to let you come in, tell us who you are, give us an introduction to what you do, and also, obviously, you're with a property management software, but tell us about your hosting background as well.
Yeah, thank you. So hi everybody. I'm coming to you from Sonoma County, a town called Windsor, which is kind of like the shabby version of Healdsburg, which is like the fancy tourist town. It's like about 10 minutes from here. This is actually our second home, and I live in San Francisco primarily. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Hostfully. We are a growing business. We've got about 100 team members worldwide. We have two different products. Property management platform is property management software is what it's also called in the industry. We also have digital guidebooks. Our digital guidebooks is actually a freemium product, so if you wanna just go try that for free, you can create a free guidebook for your property. So the property management software is kind of what you'd expect. It helps you with making sure that you can list your property on all the different bookings platforms, Airbnb, Booking.com, and Vrbo. Hostfully is a little bit of a standout in this. We're one of only 5 companies in the world that have the elite status with those 3 partners, and, so we are gonna get the best uptime and the best kind of like, real-time availability and calendar features and functionality, with Hostfully. We also can help you connect to other partners like Google, and there's like 50 others, booking
So
platforms
hold,
as well.
hold on, we hold to pause there for a
Yeah.
second. So how often does it disconnect from VRBO?
Well, never, never. I mean,
Okay, so
yeah,
like there in and of itself, so hospitable users, not to call them out, but I'm a hospitable user and I that drives me up a wall. It's like
yeah.
email every other week, like your VRBO account's disconnect. What? So
It's actually a huge amount of load on our team. I think we probably spend about 30% of our developer resources on maintaining those channel partnerships. And so it's a big investment, and it's the uptime, and it's also like adopting their features and functionality. So like we need to be aware of their roadmap and them of ours, and then we work together with them to make sure that we're dovetailing the two together. And like it'd be one thing if it was just one of them, but there's three and they're all different. It's like, the pet fee, but then there's the pets fee in a different channel. Like it gets really complex. But we really value our partnerships with those three, and we know it's really important to property managers or hosts, depending on how you like to call yourselves, to make that work. But that's our first product, and in there, I can talk more about it. But this is not a sales pitch. So it's a podcast, and I want to help your users kind of get to the gist of
right,
it.
I
So we'll do it
think that
in
that's
the story.
important though. I wanna emphasize how important that is because as a host myself dealing with some of these problems, and that's why like I titled this episode Your Biggest Mistake When You Scale. We're gonna run into these issues, especially as we take on more properties. And if we don't have the right systems and processes in place, it just it becomes exponential. It's like all of your VRBO accounts are disconnected. And you got to go in and like it's just frustrating. And we don't want to replace a job with another job,
Yeah.
right? Like a lot of us are doing this as like a side hustle.
Mhm.
In a sense, like, and we're getting several properties. But like even myself, like I don't, I have STR sites and then I have my properties, right? And I don't spend that much time on my properties, and I really don't want to spend any more time on those properties. And so that's what I want to talk about with you today because you are living this day in and day out.
Yes.
Um, so yeah, let's dive into it. Let's get into the details because and so keep in mind, and we talked about this before the show. Most of the people listening, they're not going to be property management companies, right? We talked about that misconception that people have that they think like, oh, property management companies are this enterprise level and they have to operate differently. So can you tell me like how you help hosts see the difference and then connect them to what processes they need?
Yeah. So Hostfully is, for better for worse, like we've decided to focus on this smaller scale property manager. And it's people like you and me, Kenny, who are like starting out, just getting their first property and kind of want to sort of gently assemble their software stack as opposed to like doing any sort of complicated implementation where you need an internal IT expert to help you, right? And so what Hostfully has done is we have our digital guidebooks product. And like I said, like that product everyone should be using. It's amazing. It's free. I use it for this rental. I have my daughter and my nanny staying with me this week so that I can work. And I sent her the guidebook link yesterday, and we were both laughing about it because she was like, "What's the Wi-Fi password?" And I was like, "Oh, I forgot to send you this link." So she's like, "This is amazing. It's an amazing resource. It has all these things I need to know about, like, the area and where to take your kid, this week and stuff." So everybody should be using the guidebook. It's just like a no-brainer. It's about $5 per month per property, and it'll save you tons of time and questions. But then when it comes to, like, the business operations of your business, yeah, it's all about making money, right? So, like, you need to be able to get reservations and collect payments. And for me personally, it starts to break down actually in the central calendar because we don't technically rent this place out, actually. We just have friends stay here, but even without renting it and trying to make the income, I still feel the problems because I have, like, 2 people who wanted the to stay here on the same date, and I needed to have, like, a way of showing them the calendar dates of the other person, for example, right? Or, like, I realized at that moment that I needed to do a pretty quick turnover, so all of a sudden I needed to, like, text my cleaner and be like, "Hey, can you for sure do a cleaning on August 9th, between 10 and 3," right? And it's like, that's the kind of stuff where it makes you really think, "Okay, there has to be a better way to automate that," and that's what we do with Hostfully. So Hostfully is kind of like an entry level product. It actually has a lot of complexity, and there are companies that have hundreds of properties that are using it, but we also have the ability to kind of create this scaled basic experience for people who have just a couple properties who are just getting started. And the other really important thing about Hostfully and our philosophy is that we want to do the basics really well around helping you get bookings and help you process your payments and do messaging. But then when it comes to, like, tacking on other capabilities like the cleaner scheduling, for example, or like insurance or dynamic pricing, we leave it to the experts at other companies to do that, and we are partnered with them. So we have over 100 integration partners, and we give you a lot of choice because we know that in one region, one dynamic pricing company might be a lot stronger versus in another region, another one might be a little weaker. Or you might only, maybe you already have locks, like we have locks already installed in this house. And so, like, I need the locks to work with whatever software I have. I don't wanna have to, like, redo all the lock systems in my and so with Hostfully, we give you a lot of optionality and choice. And I'll also say, like, sorry that it will be a little overwhelming because you do have to make a lot of decisions, but we tend to be in the camp of, like, letting people make the decisions for themselves versus telling you, "You must do this all in one situation," And so that's what our competitors are doing a little bit more now, where they sort of say, like, it's an all-in-one platform and we do everything for you. For us, it's like, no, we do this one little piece really well, and then we give you optionality to tack on the rest with integration partners.
Gotcha. Let's talk about that a little bit more. So, as a host yourself, what were the so just to clarify too, how many properties again do you, I guess, own or manage
Oh,
total?
Hostfully or me personally?
You first.
Me is just one. I'm, like, late to the game too, so my co-founders each have, like, 4 or 5, and then 20% of our team actually are active property managers as well, so I'm the least experienced.
You're the least
Maybe you
experienced.
shouldn't be
Okay.
talking to me.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. So
Oh, it's okay. I do know a
with
lot
your
of
property,
history.
what with your whether the co-founders or anyone on your team, even yourself with just one property, what exactly like what are some of the bottlenecks that you see? You talked about the cleaner schedule, you talked about the locks, the guidebooks. What are some other examples of things that you're kind of running into, whether you've heard of it or yourself, that hosts have to do manually, that might that eat their time and keep them from actually scaling.
Well, the first thing is occupancy, right? You need guests in order to make money and actually have a viable business. And so
Yeah,
that means that you need to be listed on the right booking sites and you probably want your own direct booking site too. Because if you're just doing one, you probably also have pretty good word of mouth, with friends or people who are coming to stay with you. So getting that direct booking website set up and then getting the the channel connection set up for your property with Airbnb, Booking, and Verbo would be like step number one, and it's a lot of work to do that. And then when you do that, you also have to set up pricing. And this is where a lot of people can really fall down. And you need to be looking at comps in your area for your specific type of property. And you also need to be using a dynamic pricing software to make sure that you're adjusting your pricing as needed, whether it's the summer, winter, high season, low season, weekends, weekdays. Like, you can leave tons of money on the table. Like, most people when they start using dynamic pricing for the first time, even if they've done a very active job of managing the pricing, they make, like, 15 to 20% more revenue on an annual basis just from the software, making those adjustments, and you can even make it more manual if you want, where you're kind of being a more active player in that. So, the first thing is really, like, get a PMS and get dynamic pricing. That's number 1. If you don't do that, you're definitely leaving money on the table and probably not optimizing the amount of automation that there is out there. I also wanted to say that, like, now is a really amazing time to start a business like this because, 5 to 7 years ago, there weren't solutions that could do this for you. And so, there have been property managers out there in the world that you will have to compete with. They've been around forever. Like, you go to, like, some real estate office and there's a person with the paper calendar and they're, like, blocking off the dates for you and sending you faxes and stuff. I mean, that happened, right? But, this new world of just having, like, more flexible accommodations and more of a turnkey feeling for the guest experience, that's, like, totally recent, and if you're learning it today, you're gonna be the expert in 5 years and 10 years from now. So it's really cool to start this kind of business now, and to really leverage and really get to know the software and the technology solutions around you because it's gonna get more commonplace, for people to be able to use those, but if you can be so good at them, you can actually outpace your competitors in your market by using technology.
What kind of technology would you recommend? So we talk, dynamic pricing, property management software, like what else? What else is out there?
Yeah, I mean, the next thing I would say is probably turnover management. So it's like making sure that you have quality cleaners ready to go who are gonna be consistently cleaning your property. I actually was just, I'm going to a wedding in August, and I'm booking a rental with a bunch of friends, and the rental we found, it's in Santa Cruz. There was just, like, limited availability because it's the summer and everybody's traveling there. So the rental we sort of, like, ended up deciding on has only 3.83 stars, and we were all not thrilled about that because we were like, "That is not a good rating." But we wrote to the host. It's a bunch of people who are, like, pretty understanding. So we wrote to the host and we said, like, "Hey, like, these are the complaints that we're hearing about, like, can you please address them?" And they all had to do with cleaning, like, every single one of
Um,
them. And it was just funny for me to read this, right, as, like, a person who's, like, kind of sees the big parts of the industry going on, like, to see it just happen at this tiny level, like, this host literally got dinged 1.2 points off of a five-star rating on cleaning alone. And so and the quality of clean just putting the sheets on the bed, making sure that there was toilet paper, like, basic stuff. Nothing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
So
don't
cleaning.
overlook that. Your cleaner is really
Okay.
important. Yeah. Our
Yeah.
cleaner's right here
Makes
right in my house right now too, actually.
yeah, she's like, "That's right." She's like
Exactly.
That's
Develop
funny.
a relationship with your cleaner, don't underpay your cleaner. That's
No, yeah, there you go. Yeah. Yeah, just blink 3 times if you're under duress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's just like a restaurant, right? Like, you get one really bad review and then you're gonna get pushed down in the rankings and stuff. So, getting the first, 10 to 20 reviews be really good and having their experience be awesome is with you in terms of communication perspective and then also in terms of cleaning is really
Sure.
important.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think everyone listening is 100% behind that.
Mhm.
So talking about property management companies that come to you guys, maybe people who have, we'll say 10, manage 10 plus properties or, they own them, manage whatever. So what are some of their pain points that they come to you about that Hostfully helps them resolve through the property management software? So as they scale, these are unique pain points for them, not just because they already have cleaners, they already have some of these things set up already because they've gotten to that level. They've had to, right? But now what problems do they have that they face that are different?
Yeah, a lot of it has to do with like, it's really the devil's in the details. So it's like setting up workflows within Hostfully that are suitable for that business. So like, let's say it's a place in a ski village where like they want to add ski rental. It's like, can they upsell ski rental in their purchase process? Yes, they can with Hostfully. Or maybe it's even like we want them to sign a waiver and we want to remind them until that waiver is signed that, up to not sue us for ski accidents. I don't know. Or maybe it's like we have a special thing where we want to yeah, like a lot of it's communication and like setting up what we call templates and triggers in our system. And these are like communication templates that go out automatically. So it's like things that are just really specific to that region or that business, and we automate it. And it's like what you said, like you don't want people doing these repetitive tasks. It sucks for them anyway. So like, why not use software to automate your communications? And we offer, email, text, and also in-app communications. So, like, because of our partnerships with Airbnb, Booking.com, and Vrbo, we have the messaging API with all of those. So, having all of this communication be coming from one place and having it be like a unified strategy across all the channels is really powerful as well. So that's really important. Another thing is layering on the different integration partners and having the flexibility to do that. We just give a lot of flexibility, so we let people customize on their own. Um, what else? Like, what are the other things? Yeah, I mean, there's upside. I think that what we would love to see at Hostfully, and I would love for your listeners to be experimenting with this more, is so when you're thinking about configuring your software, I think people think a lot about like mitigating downsides. So it's like, how many tasks can I remove from my team's plate? But I would encourage your listeners to also think about what upside revenue can I capture with my rental. And what I mean by that is that the most successful property managers, small and big out there, are doing really creative things to add on, like, additional upsells into the rental. Whether it's like, "Oh, it's your engagement, like, do you want a $100 champagne kit waiting for you when you arrive?" Or there's one guy who, like, makes an extra $40 on every rental from firewood. It costs him, like, $5 a cord, and he says, for $40, I'll, like, have this firewood sitting next to this fire, and when you come to this cabin, you can have it ready for you for your cozy night in, right? And I just would encourage your listeners to, especially because you're running smaller portfolios and you really know the type of guest that's gonna come stay with you, make sure that you're taking advantage of those upsell opportunities, whether it's, like, merchandising, tours, and activities, or, like, a physical good or grocery delivery or pickup from the airport. Like, don't forget about that, because you can mitigate downside and remove tasks and save a lot of time. You can also, like, spend that same energy, earning a lot more revenue per night of a rental. So, it's something that is generally overlooked in this industry. I know the time will come. It's one of those things where, like, I can see the future, but it's just gonna take a lot of time for everybody to figure it out. Hotels have figured it out, short-term rentals, not really. So, something to think about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you have just a bunch of these like individual operators, on a massive scale compared to brands and hotels that own these things. And I tell people all the time, I'm like, you need to look at what hotels are doing. Yes, we aren't the hotel industry, but they are in the hospitality industry. And there are things we can learn from that. I've been impressed. Hotels have had to evolve and adapt in the last 3, 4 years because of COVID, right? And getting crushed by short term rentals. And so when I say hotels now, when I travel, not all the time, but I do, and I'm impressed. Like some of the amenities and things, I'm like, man, like they've really upped their game. They've had to, and so I think that that's people need to understand that we're constantly like this industry is constantly evolving and we need to adapt as well. Be constantly learning new technologies because it's just going to get better,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Hopefully. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, all right. So, one of the things that I think that a lot of so as people scale, one of the things that I feel like a lot of the bigger like management companies, like let's take a Bacasa, for example, 40,000 rentals, these big names Evolve and these other people with thousands of rentals that people see that they lose is that guest experience, that personal touch. So as someone scales, it can happen to them too. Maybe they're not going to go to thousands, right? But as they scale, they could lose that. Like the firewood example. I love that. But how does someone keep that by leveraging the systems and software that you're in the technology? Correct. Yeah.
You know, we talk a lot about personalization, but what it really is it's really a thoughtfulness about the guest experience. Because, like, when you and I go to a hotel, like, I just want there to be, like, a bottle of water in the room, and, like, I want light blocking shades, and I don't want it to be too close to the elevator, and I just want somebody to have thought through the fact that I'm there to sleep, probably, on a work trip and get a good rest, and it's the same thing for a short-term rental. So you can use technology to accomplish a lot, and a lot of it is a combination of automation and thoughtful customer experience. And so the best thing is, like, go and stay in your short-term rental. You will discover all the things that are annoying, about the rental. Or just pretend you're gonna do it, like, lie down on the bed, sit on the chair, be there during different times of the day, like, really feel how it is to have that experience, and then you can construct the technology around it to suit you. So maybe you need automatic shades that close at a certain time of day. Maybe you need it's confusing to find the grocery store or the coffee shop, so you need to provide extra instructions there. Or maybe, like, every guest is asking you, like, "What should we do? We have an extra day while we're here. Like, do you have recommendations?" Like, then you need to provide a travel, itinerary builder or some sort of suggestion. But, like, really come at it from a customer journey perspective, and you will learn so much. And then the technology, like you said, is just, like, there to help you. So you can use digital guidebooks, you can use automated communication. You can even, like, I'm really excited, and I've seen this happen. There's a guy in New Orleans who's doing this, one of our customers, uh, Mike Springer, I think is his name, and he does, like, a pre-stay survey where he asks about, like, the purpose of the stay, so he learns a lot about the guest, and then he figures out ways to, like, give them the offers that they need, while they're there. So, like, that all can be automated. I mean, it's usually not that different. Like, if you have a rental, there's usually, like, types of people who stay there. Maybe you're not gonna know that it's specifically Kenny, right? But it's like, oh, like, you're gonna tell them, "I'm staying for work or for pleasure, I'm just coming with my family, or I'm coming alone, or I'm coming with friends. I'm staying for 1 to 2 days, or I'm staying for 3 to 5 days." Those are 2 different kinds of trips. You're gonna need different storage for those different experiences. So, like, just knowing the types of guests that typically stay with you, you can kind of create these personas and then start to create an experience around them. So the technology honestly is kind of secondary. It's really about, like, knowing the customer and what they want.
That's really good. That's good. A good little nugget there. Just this popped in my head as you were talking. Are you guys using or leveraging AI
Yes.
integrating with Hostfully? And so tell us about it. That's an exciting topic. So
Yeah,
let's learn.
yeah, I love talking about AI. So there's AI all around us. We're using it for a lot of internal stuff. We were actually one of the first companies to use Intercom's AI, which is for our support team. And so now, and that this is very funny because we've had customers who are like, "Damn it, I know you use AI for this conversation, but it was really good." Like, it's like
It was
they're, like,
very good.
hiding it, but they still appreciate it.
Yeah.
So we're using for a lot of internal stuff around education and support, and then we just launched it in our, inbox as well. And so, you might see, like, we give suggested responses, and we're teaching the algorithm how to do better. We give it quite a bit of data about, like, the context and the property, and then, it generates a response. And the funny thing is, like, it's probably, like, 85% correct, but it's always enthusiastic. So if
Yeah.
you like one property manager we had, lives in San Francisco, and the guest was like, "Oh, is there parking there? Like, can I park my car?" And the AI was like, "Yes, there's tons of parking, and it's always available." And, like, in San Francisco, it's like, "No."
No, yeah, I know, right? You're like, "No." Yeah.
But
So
we're
it's a good
using
salesman.
yeah, it's a really good salesman, exactly. It's, like, confidently wrong. But
Yeah,
we're
confidently
always gonna offer yeah, we're always gonna offer we force the manual step, so, like, you're always gonna, like, approve or disprove any sort of suggestions or whatever if we go down that route. But we're using it behind the scenes in our business a lot, when it comes to marketing and support specifically. And actually, like, we've had, like, internal presentations done with, like, an AI avatar just for fun to just see what's going on and make sure we understand it. There's so much that AI can be used for right now. Another really cool thing that we're gonna be using it for is, like, videos and understanding more about our customers by, having the AI summarize interactions that we're having with customers and then give us insights. So, like, lots of cool stuff going on.
Since you guys are integrated with Airbnb, you're able to pull probably a good amount of guest information from a booking, correct?
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, some of it's obfuscated from us, actually. So we don't get a
Okay.
ton. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they're hiding stuff. Okay, so yeah, I was wondering, I was like, could you almost you or maybe you guys are thinking about this already or whatever, but like use AI to like interpret the data about the guests to help provide a better experience?
Oh, like to tell the property manager, "You should do this and this and this?"
yeah, make recommendations.
I mean, I think a lot of that honestly would be in the inbox, like, it would be based on the interactions, and that is what we're trying to do. We don't think about it by channel, though, we think about it I like where you're going with this, but we do think about it by, like, by property,
Yeah,
because
my
that's kind
brain's
of the
starting on this
orientation of
one.
our users, right? They're
Yeah,
thinking about it by property.
the property, but, like, if a guest, like so, for example, a guest with a lot of reviews, AI could interpret the reviews and say, "Hey, this is, like, their
Oh,
past, like, this is their experiences, this is what they loved about places or maybe things they didn't love or whatever comments they've said, and they're coming from this area," and they just, like, interpret, and tells the property manager.
there is a company actually called AutoHost.ai that does a risk analysis on guests.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
so they'll do and there's a bunch of I mean, Safely and
Yeah.
Superhog do this too, but they'll basically, like, take a guest profile and run it through their system, and they've been around for, like, a long time, and they'll give you, like, a risk score and, like, risk but it's a really interesting idea. That's kind of like, again, looking at the downside, not the upside, which is, like
Yeah.
I really like where you're going with this, actually. It's kinda cool.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could talk about reviews later. I have some really interesting thoughts on, using reviews and interpreting the data and stuff, but
We are experimenting with that, though, actually, like, natural language processing on reviews,
Mhm.
like, scanning through a lot of reviews and then being like, "These are the things that pop out that you might wanna improve." So, we are thinking about that too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's, so here's what I found interesting in the data. We were gonna actually do something with this, but it was too much of a project for us, tiny little steering sites, but we found that there is a strong correlation to what the type of amenities people are mentioning in the reviews of a property and the amenities that impact the revenue of the property. So we can look at the data and we can say, okay, these are the amenities you have. These are the ones that make you a lot of money, and like do like crazy regression analysis and all this stuff and prove it. But then the layman can't really do that. You know what I mean? Like doesn't have access to that kind of maybe knowledge, but even just the data itself. However, if they go in and they pull their reviews and they have enough reviews and they can easily see which amenities for either their property or competitors' properties are making more money using, chat gpt, literally like copy and paste and throw it to chat gpt and it like spits out and tells you. And there's a strong correlation between those amenities and the ones that the data says make them most money.
Yes, but you can also save yourself all that time and energy, and you can just go to a webinar with Hostfully and Google or Hostfully and Airbnb, and they just tell you.
And they just tell you, yeah. Well, here's the thing though. Sure, like I
'Cause
want to, I want
there's,
to,
like, baseline amenities, right? There's a
right?
certain set of baseline amenities for the price of the
Check
property
boxes,
that you
yeah.
have to have, and then I like where you're going. It's like, what are the things that are gonna spike that? Basically make the experience, like, that much better, so much so that they will mention it in the review and possibly, be willing to pay another person would be willing to pay more for that. That's a great question.
Yeah, that's so I did an interview with a girl, on it. It was like it was like the second week or whatever. She's a co-host in like Georgia, and she's in North Georgia, and that market sucks. Everybody knows I call it that market all the time. But it's like just known for struggling. And she has a two-bedroom cabin, literally basic. It's got decent views, but it's cabin built in the 90s. Nothing special about it. She's outperforming three-bedroom cabins in the same market,
Mhm.
like the top of two bedrooms. And I'm like, okay. So I interviewed her and I'm like, what are you doing? And she shows me her listing. Sure enough, it looks pretty basic, but she went and marketed hardcore towards, being the pet friendliest. That's the title, pet friendliest cabin in Blue Ridge. And you're like, okay. And literally, like every picture has like a dog in it, posing or like doing something. And then she has not just like, oh, water bowl and leash or whatever. She's got like a little like wash area for pets.
Totally.
She's a dog bed. She's got all the cleaning
Treat
supplies you could want.
like the
Like
poop bags, all that
everything.
stuff. Yep.
Yeah, and then like she have this like little they have these little stones where the kids can put like their paw, like the dog's paw print on it and write like something and their pet's name and like take it as a souvenir. And I'm like, this is brilliant, and it's like a boring cabin in LJ,
Totally.
Georgia. And I'm like, this is so smart.
But that's it goes back to that customer journey though, right? Where she was like,
Yeah.
"I see this customer and I'm gonna know intimately what matters to them and what would make them excited." I mean, pets and kids is the same thing. Like, I have 3 kids. If I like my kids are not young anymore.
Equally messy, equally loud. They
I
don't
mean, but if somebody if, like, you
really
could if you're looking at 5 different rentals of houses and you're gonna go stay somewhere, and one of them says, "We have the full kit of the pack and play and the crib, or the pack and play and the high chair and some toys that are age appropriate and a walker thing for your kid." These are all things you do not wanna bring. A shade area, we provide sunscreen, whatever it is, right? Like, just thinking through that customer journey and making sure if it's a business traveler, the Wi-Fi, test the Wi-Fi, put a picture of the Wi-Fi speed in your listing, right? Like, say there's backup networks, right? Show a picture of somebody on a Zoom call in your rental.
Right.
It's like
Yeah.
yeah. It's like that
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
That's really, yeah, that's really interesting. And I've been using AI, or it's ChatGPT, to like really interpret those reviews. And so, like, for example, the pet friendly one, it's like, yeah, okay, all these properties are pet friendly, but we see a range of revenue. And the difference is how they're marketing that particular amenity.
Exactly.
And so that's what's separating them from everybody
Yeah,
else.
yeah, it is. You're totally right. It is about the marketing of the amenity. And also remember that people make decisions based on their hearts, not their heads. And so, like, the more emotional or like caretaking, at really truly hosting it feels, the better it's gonna feel. Like, if I did this thing and I wanted it to be really nice, I would do like a Sonoma kit. Everybody has this like fantasy of coming to Sonoma County, right? Coming to wine country and feeling like, oh, like I'm connected with nature and I'm gonna be this beautiful person sitting out at a winery drinking a glass of wine. It's like give them that experience when they arrive. Like give them some local honey or some local olive oil, and like or like in a short list of people at the wineries that are within 10 minutes of here that they can drive to, like, give them what they want. That's what they're gonna envision coming here, so, like, give them it's just marketing. It's totally
Yeah.
marketing, yeah.
Yep.
And then
No,
and
it's
then
really,
they get the first person gets the high from it, right? They get the buzz off of whatever you've done for them, and then they write the review, and then the next person is seeking that. So it does take a
exactly.
couple steps, but yeah.
I love that. Okay. So going back, if I'm which is most of the audience, whether they're new or they've got a few properties, they're trying to scale and they're like, okay, yeah, I love what you're saying, Margot, but like technology, like what technology, how, like at what point should I get even started with it? Do I need to wait till a certain, is there like, oh, 5 properties, now I need to figure all this stuff out? Or is there a certain time that you recommend people do?
I would say start with 1. As soon as you want to get, like, more than 30% booking on your property annually, like, you need property management software, period. It depends a little bit on the price point of your rental. Like, if your rental is gonna be in the, like, 50 to $60 range and, then I understand it can get pretty tight. But if you're in the, like, 150 to, and up, like, it's just a no-brainer. Like, get the system set up, get it going, really run it. Like, you gotta the one thing I've learned about being a CEO of a big company now is, like, the best business people are people who can think ahead and plan and really, like, have a realistic plan for how things are gonna work out. So, like, put together the spreadsheet, put the property management software in the spreadsheet, put the cleaning costs in the spreadsheet, like, build the financial model, and you'll be able to quickly see when it makes sense. But, no one who's using property management software ever says, like, "This isn't worth the price." I mean, we get, like, very, very, very few people who are saying that every year of the thousands of customers that we talk to. They're all saying, "I wish I had more time to implement this. I can see the value in it." So it is just that's the tricky thing, I think, with your listeners. It's like, how do you figure out the trade-off between not doing this and doing it well?
Well, your time, time's money. And so it's an investment, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So what's the ROI on my investment? What will I get my time back?
Mhm.
I noticed like the path of, the lazy path is just deal with whatever comes up, but that's going to equate to more hours of time over, a
Exactly.
while. Rip off the Band-Aid, and
Do
get
it
it
right.
done.
Yeah, and I mean, like, you've already and your listeners, if this is a side hustle, they've already made the decision not to focus on it full time. So, like, you better optimize it because it's just gonna eat up even more of your time. So,
Right.
yeah,
Yep. I absolutely like that. I
yeah.
think one thing you said, and so it's something that like I'm kind of grasping for myself and just in applying it in really all aspects of life, not to get like weirdly deep on this, but like is the idea of like literally making a plan, a
Mhm.
checklist. of everything because I think I mentioned this on a previous episode. I was talking about like my kitchen. Like we decided, like we got a quote. It was like too expensive. And I'm like, I'm just gonna like general like GC it myself and sub out the jobs, and I'll do it for like a quarter of the price. That's what I did. This started in December. We're in July and I'm like, we're still working on it, you know? The core things are done, but here come the excuses, right? Like,
Yes.
it's like, but I didn't really, I was like, okay, we need to get cabinets and countertops. Like, we're going to redo this. Like, this is like the main stuff, but I didn't think about painting and backsplash and lighting and all these other things where a GC is going to come in and be like, what do you want to do here? Okay, now we're going to go and execute it that specific way. And it's taken up more time. So, although it's like, "Oh, cool, we have some of this stuff done," but it's never quite finished because I didn't create an actual plan and execute on it. So, that is a great thing for any business, but and more importantly, if with hosts, creating that plan of how you're gonna integrate technology and take that time to learn. I've seen the people who do it best will go to events like VRMA or IMF or some big conference. They'll go and they'll take notes, they'll talk to vendors, they'll learn all the technology, they'll do the shopping,
Go to the
and then they'll
sessions, like, yeah, do all
yep,
that stuff. Yep.
learn because you only know what you know.
That's right.
You know what I mean? You only know what's out there. And so getting exposed to what's out there and then gathering and information gathering and then drafting a plan and then executing on that. I know it sounds like a lot, but that's the best way to do it. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I have so many thoughts about this. I'm also, like, the kind of person who, like, it's like, if you're gonna do it well, because, like, if you're gonna do
Yeah.
a shitty job, then you might as well just not do it. So, like, that's kind of my
Yeah.
philosophy in general. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with, like, going in with a kind of naive viewpoint, though, like, with the remodel, for example, and because you learn from that, right? You learn, like, "Oh, this is way more complex than I expected it to be." So my first job outside of college was working at an architecture firm, and I started there as an office manager and ended up being kind of a project manager. And it was for a residential architecture firm in Boulder, Colorado. And I learned so much about complexities of homes and, power and construction and road construction and civil engineering and structural engineering and, not to mention all the finishing that needs to go into building a house. Like, homes are complex. And that is why this industry has taken so long to have technology that can actually work for it, because homes are very different from hotels. Hotels, there is a cookie cutter standard room that runs 100 times up and down the hotel, and, you can just treat it like a factory because it is one. But within a home, you're always gonna have stuff that comes up, and so, like, I have a lot of sympathy and understanding and appreciation for the fact that every property that somebody's gonna rent is also going to have a unique experience, and that's what we're grappling with here, and that's why technology is, like, finally able to support it because, like, we can finally do the things in technology that will actually be custom for every property. So the joke at Hostfully is, like, once you know one property manager, you know one property manager. Like, everybody's business is different. So lean into that. It's kinda like the example you gave in Georgia, like, she just, like, leaned into, like, how her property could be different, and I think that's something that can be so powerful for any business builder. I mean, with Hostfully, like, we are not like a lot of other software companies. I'm obsessed with company culture and how it feels to work at Hostfully. A lot of people think that's crazy or a bad way to run a business, but I've just definitely committed to it, and it's like the thing that is our hallmark in the industry. People love working at the company, and our customers can feel it, and they have really good interactions with the team, and we grow probably a little slower than some of the other companies in the industry, but we do it with a lot of thoughtfulness and a lot of kindness and grace toward each other, and, like, that's what we're doing. So, like, my message is kind of like, yeah, you can make a plan, but, like, also lean into your own weirdness, like, find the thing that is gonna make you special and
Yeah.
and lean into it. There's no reason to feel like you need to, like, be the same as the competitor that you're gonna compete with. You just need to find your way of being different. And maybe it is doing a really good plan. Maybe it's doing an intuitive, going and staying at the rental. Maybe it's like you're super social and you're gonna go build relationships with tons of businesses in your area and, become a community leader that way or whatever it is, like lean into it. That probably is gonna be what's gonna carry you through and also make it more fun for you too.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. So, Margot, as we kind of wrap things up here, conclude everything. This has been a great episode. I really appreciate the nuggets and the wisdom. Let's get a few more. But before we do that and close on the last big nugget you're going to give us, what if somebody wants to, obviously, they can use Hostfully, they can check out Hostfully's site, but if they want to get in contact with you or speak with you, how do they do that?
Yeah, so you can email me, Margot at hostfully.com. I know that's kind of old school, but, like, I'm really good at email, and I will always respond.
It's not Margot at hostfully.aol.com or something,
No,
right?
no.
What?
I will see your
Super old
email,
school.
and I will put you to the right place. Yeah, I just find, like, I get so many spam texts and other things, so and I'm not on Twitter anymore, it's just too crazy. So I like email, I like to focus on the things I can focus on and do them really well. Yeah, but people are welcome to chat with me. Also, if you wanna just check out Hostfully, you can go to our website and there's, like, people standing by. They're gonna jump on the conversation with you. So the chat bot in the corner, there are real people there, not just AI.
Yeah, not AI. I was about
Text
to
you.
say they're real people, they're not AI,
Yeah.
so they're there. Yes, you will speak to a human being. Yep.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
okay, cool. And then also just everybody listening, Margot is going to be sharing more tips and nuggets at the SCR Scale Summit in August. So on August 16th and 17th, she's going to be sharing with us all about scaling through technology and the tech stacks and things like that, getting into more specific details. And she's got a keynote and a workshop. I'm super excited about it. Margot, any thoughts on that?
No, I'm really excited. So, in that workshop, we're going to be talking about the building blocks for a tech stack, and we talked a little bit about that on the podcast today. But we're going to be going through them in detail, like what are the categories you should be thinking about and why you need them. And I think there's like eight categories, so we're going to be diving into each of those. I also have like extensive vendor lists, which don't just include Hostfully partners, but also just expansively thinking about the industry, so that you can get a lay of the land of what you should be looking for. And then the other thing that I love to do is what key questions you should be asking software vendors when you meet with them to be able to make a good choice about who you work with. Just we want the right fit customers, and you need the right fit software. And oftentimes there's so many mixed messages or confusion that comes along with that conversation. And I love to just like clear the deck and be like, what are the main questions you should be asking, and what kind of responses you should be getting from a software vendor that you're considering. We've taken our kind of internal procurement practices at Hostfully, and we expose them to you because we want you to be asking those questions and when you talk to us and other vendors as well.
So we should definitely show up to that one, take notes.
Yeah.
So when they ask me those questions,
Yeah, exactly. We have some, like, good
Very-
singers in there too, and ones where, like,
very-
you shouldn't be able to get an easy answer, it shouldn't be so simple, so it's good. Yeah.
yes. Okay, I love it. So if you're interested in hearing more from her, go to scrscalesummit.com. It's free, and you can hear her and share her insights and everything. This has been great. Well, Margot, as we wrap up here, last question for you. Ask everybody this one big tip. It doesn't have to be about Hostly or like property management software. Anything. One big tip to help our listeners cash flow positive with short term rentals.
Yeah. It's really PMS and dynamic pricing. I'm gonna go back to that. You gotta have visibility into what you expect to be happening, and in order to do that, you need to be looking at comps and benchmarks and pricing your place accordingly, and then you also need to have a calendar that's unified, that's getting bookings from the right channels. So, it's a lift. I know.
It is. Here's the thing though, and we talked about this at the beginning. I'll just add this in here because, like, I want people. I really want to stress this. It's like as this industry matures, and as we want to make, if we want to make it more legit as a business for ourselves, we need to look at, like I call it, modeling the masters. Like, look at like the hotel industry. They don't just go and change pricing manually. They have algorithms and systems and software
And
and
teams.
they're and teams, yes.
Yes.
And like all this stuff, and it's like that they're doing it. And so we should probably be doing the same thing if we want to master and be successful at
Mhm.
this.
Yeah, and
So
also, like, the channels are sometimes offering their own dynamic pricing, options inside of the channel, but in order to do it right, you really gotta go with a third party because you need somebody who's looking across all 3. So that'd be my tip.
okay, great. I love it. Well, thank you so much for being on, Margot. This has been great. I really, really enjoyed this episode. Thanks everybody else for listening, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.